Hey guys, Ender here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, it's going to be everything you need to know about Battlefield 2042 Update 2.1 and nothing you don't need to know. This update includes additional content and long-awaited changes that aren't actually what they seem, and we'll get into that later. As always, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my videos. I am heavily considering a YouTube test stream here within the next few weeks, so if you would like to see that, make sure to turn notifications on, as I might not be streaming on Twitch, seeing as Twitch is taking massive L's recently. Now, getting into the information in the patch notes of this update, the update as of this video releasing is live Tuesday, September 27th. So, in the comment section down below, did it break anything? That's always what I ask in these videos. I want to know if they broke anything, because it is DICE we're dealing with here. Now, the most important change in this entire update, undebatably, is the fact that they are finally doing something about the disgusting feeling mouse input in this game, and Florian, aka Drunksy on Twitter, specifically stated that they reduced mouse input latency in this patch by, drumroll please, 4 milliseconds. This is in no way, shape, or form a fix for the mouse input, and actually that is reiterated by Drunksy himself, saying that we still have a lot of room for improvement, and that it isn't quite up to snuff in comparison to other titles, meaning that basically the mouse still doesn't work, but it should feel slightly better-ish. And the absolute last thing I want to see is praise for this, because this should never have been an issue in the first place. It is still not fixed, and the game has been out for a year, and this is the first time they've actually publicly addressed this. Now, I know what you controller players are thinking. Does this input latency fix for the mouse affect controllers? I don't know, because I know that controllers also feel really bad in this game. But moving on to the further details in this patch, there is something called the Liquidators Await, and this is what they had to say about it. Quote, a special event is coming your way during mid-October. We're looking forward to sharing full details with you at a later time, but for now expect new earnable cosmetics alongside infantry-only gameplay with tight play spaces and intense close-quarters combat. So TLDR of that, there's a new event coming in mid-October, and apparently it's going to be very, very fast-paced and hectic. So I don't know what that is, but hey, maybe it's like Grind, if you remember that game mode from Battlefield 5. Moving on to the renewal map overhaul that is playable within this new patch, and yeah, count the amount of sandbags that they put on the map, because as we all know, this is a result of the Great Sandbagging, if you remember that joke from a while ago. All of these renewed maps are, in fact, a result of the Great Sandbagging, and we can see that because now we have cover in the form of sandbags more often than not. And to help you smash through those additional sandbags, they have added the Polaris RZR transport vehicle to the game. And shout out to Polaris for getting that sweet hashtag ad, hashtag sponsor in Battlefield 2042, as well as Logitech. Remember the Logitech billboard on Hourglass, I believe? Now, a really cool thing about this update is that we actually get 3 new weapons in the game, which I either forgot was happening or this is a new thing, but I think I just forgot. We're getting the P90, the Gaull Sniper Magnum, which I am actually personally pretty excited for because I think the Gaull Sniper Magnum looks super cool, and the M1911 sidearm, which is awesome because we just get another sidearm. Moving on to the patch notes, I'm going to do this by section and list off the most important changes per section, starting with the general changes section. They have fixed an issue where binding a secondary input to the mouse side buttons did not work, and they've resolved instances of visual graphical artifacting while hovering over the Exodus Conquest playlist. For the Battlefield Portal section, they have resolved multiple things that have something to do with collision and assets on the classic era maps, so you should be able to traverse the areas a little easier. And they also added a bunch of different rules to the rules editor. For the gadget section, we don't really have much choice because there's literally only one change listed here, but they fixed incorrect zoom levels while using the SoFlam. So shout out to SoFlam players, I suppose you are now zooming correctly. For the map sections, they changed a bunch of stuff on, I think, all the maps. On Breakaway, they resolved silo damage effects, stopping when the silo is queued for destruction. On Discarded, they fixed an issue where the terrain around the base of the walkway ship rail could be destroyed enough to make it float in the air. On Exposure, they fixed bullet decals and they fixed some LOD issues. On Hourglass, they fixed multiple areas of the map that caused audio issues. On Kaleidoscope, they fixed another LOD issue. On Orbital, they fixed an area where a dumpster had audio material set to dirt. So, comment down below, that was a major problem. Personally, that was my biggest problem with the entire game, the dirt dumpster. For Renewal, there's an absolute laundry list of changes for this map because obviously it's overhauled. And finally, on Stranded, they fixed a numerous amount of issues with the flags and list missiles would actually get stuck in the floor when shot near E1 control tower. Moving on to the soldiers section, the first and most important thing out of this entire paragraph: improved input polling rate to reduce aiming input latency. Players who previously observed mouse input lag during gameplay should feel an improvement with this game update. Please continue sharing your feedback about your experience with us once you've been able to play. Oh, don't worry, I'll share my feedback experience with you. But that's not it for the important changes in the soldier section. This is actually a controversial change in my opinion and has way more of an impact on gameplay than I think they might understand. A short cooldown has been added to prevent standing/prone stance change spam. In my opinion, this is a completely unnecessary and horrific change. The amount of times that you go from prone to standing in Battlefield 2042 and Battlefield games in general is actually quite a bit, especially if you utilize all of the cover correctly around you. And the change from prone to standing and vice versa needs to be smooth, and you need to be able to do it when you need to be able to do it, because if there's some sort of cooldown preventing you from moving, it's just going to result in more clunky, delayed gameplay that also results in you getting killed when you wouldn't have been killed otherwise. As far as other changes in this section, they fixed a camera snapping issue when starting a slide, and they introduced a new player collision behavior for friendly soldiers to help prevent body blocking in tight spaces. In the specialist section, Boris's turret no longer tries to shoot you through the smoke, so thank you so much, I appreciate that. Irish's APS has seen a bit of a bug fix regarding the M320 LVG, so all of you people that were abusing that, you are now going to not be able to do that because Irish APS will destroy your LVG now. In the vehicle section, they have changed the naming of the heat shell to be properly designated as the HE shell because its intended use was for anti-infantry, and heat actually stands for high explosive anti-tank, which was misleading. For more specific changes, the EBLC RAM has seen its turret now properly aligned on its main body. The countermeasure prompts are now correctly displayed, so you can actually know when you APS. And they have now fixed several bugs with it, as well as several crosshair misalignment issues. On to some very controversial changes in my opinion. In the vehicle section further down, the 60mm flak pod has been kind of notorious for being an infantry farming weapon, but I would also say it's fairly effective against air vehicles already. DICE didn't think so. They've actually increased its effectiveness against air vehicles, but they have also decreased its effectiveness against infantry. The attack helicopters see some changes within this patch as well because, as they state here, the stealth helicopter has become the dominant air vehicle and they want to see people start to pick the attack helicopters as well. As a result, they have buffed the 127mm anti-vehicle rockets, and they've actually completely changed the way the 30mm gunner cannon works. They have lowered the fire rate from 350 to 200, they've increased the velocity, but they've also over doubled the start damage and tripled the ending damage. So the result is a slower firing gunner cannon that does more damage per hit and also travels faster. Scrolling down, the Nightbird's miniguns have seen some changes. Their reasoning for this is they want to make sure they remain powerful when actively managed while reducing their effectiveness during continuous fire. The minigun wind-up time has been lowered, the minigun wind-down time has been increased, overall dispersion, meaning spread, has been lowered, and the overheat has actually been increased. So overall, I'm not sure how this will affect the Nightbird miniguns. I thought they were in a fine place, but I don't know, this might have just a null effect. And speaking of miniguns, they have also changed the miniguns on the sides of the Condor and the Superhind. They've been nerfed because they state they've observed the transport helicopter's miniguns were mainly being used for long-range combat. And before we go over our final section, just be sure to hit the subscribe button and like the video if you stayed this long. Thanks so much for watching this long to the video. I really do appreciate it. But for the weapons section, it is basically just a ton of bug fixes that are fairly miscellaneous. They have improved the sound effects for the laser sights, prevented the ability for the AM40 and Avances to be used while swimming underwater, and prevented a bug that allowed you to pick up the DM7 from the ground and show the incorrect weapon entirely. So that is about it for this patch, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe we're at a point where DICE can't seem to be able to fix mouse input, especially a year after release. That is truly shocking and definitely representative of our times. But overall, seems like a fairly solid update with some good buffs and nerfs and some fairly suspect changes when it comes to that prone stance change. But we'll just have to see how that plays in game. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe and like the video, and I will see you guys later.